This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jamarkowski, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to the I Love Success podcast. I'm so grateful that you're here with me today as I'm sharing the story of Garrain Jones, a man who went to prison in France for 2.5 years, a man who was homeless for 2.5 years, and a man who tried to commit suicide twice. No one believed in him, including himself. But one day, he decided to change. He decided to change his mindset and change his life. So kick back, relax, and enjoy this life-changing episode. Welcome, Darren.
That was an excellent intro, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, very short and sweet, and let's dig deeper. And I'm going to try something new here today that I've never done before, because we had a little bit of conversation before this podcast, and I just want to start so we can get right into it. Can you just go back to the worst day of your life and how it has changed you as a human being?
The worst day of my life. It's interesting you say that. It was actually when I was 4 years old, and my mom and dad were separating. People tell me that I don't remember this, but I remember this moment. My mom and dad were separating, and it was time for me and my brother. They said, choose which parent you want to go with. You choose your mom, choose your dad. My dad was nicer. My mom had my brother had chose my mom. My dad was nicer, so I was like, I'm choosing my dad. And so I'm driving off. My mom and my brother were in the street. I'm driving off. You know, you drive away, the perception, the people get smaller, and I feel something in my stomach that says, say you want to go with your mom. Say you want to go with your mom. I now know that was my intuition, but I had no idea when I was 4. All I know is I felt that yuck feeling on the inside, and I told my dad, I was like, stop the car. I want to go with mom. And I didn't really like my mom at that time because she was the disciplinarian in the family.
Yeah.
And I told him to stop, and we drove back, and I went with my mom. How it impacted me and affected me is I never thought about how that impacted my dad. 8 years later, my father was murdered by 2 men. He was a drug dealer. And I always blamed myself because I was his little buddy and I left. So in my head, I always thought that I was the cause of the downward spiral of his life because I chose not to go with him.
Wow, that's deep. And can we just talk about that? How have you forgiven yourself, or are you still blaming yourself for this, or?
No, I actually earlier this year, I didn't realize I was doing this 5-day transformation course, and we were doing this, it was like a group activity, experiential activity, and it was like stimulating part of my brain that I didn't even know that that I stuffed down because it was so long ago. Well, in that moment, I forgave my dad, and no, I forgave myself. I apologized to my dad, and inside of that energy that was created, the place where I went in my mind, I found out the damage that I had done to my daughter's life. Yeah. No, because whatever impacts you, it will continue to keep impacting you if it's not healed from the point of the impact. Yeah. So I'd realized in that very moment that I carried on the same tradition and being in and out inside of my daughter's life. So that night I went and I I made an amends to my daughter who hadn't been in, we really hadn't been in each other's life for like 15 years due to me. And I apologized, but from that place, that was the first night that my daughter told me, I love you, without the encouragement of her mom, but it was for her own, it came from her heart. I'd never heard I love you from my daughter, but it took me going from the depths of myself and then bringing that in an apology to my own daughter, and I literally transformed the trajectory of my life in that very moment.
Wow. And if you could sit down and talk to your dad now, what would you like to say to him?
Well, for my dad, he'd always been there, and I never even, you hear things that, oh, your dad was a drunk, he was an alcoholic, he used to do these things. I would never hold that against him. I would just always remember that he was the very first person to stick up for me. You know, I want to tell a little story. It was Christmas. I was 5 years old. It was during Christmas holidays where the kids, they like dance and sing in front of the family. Well, I was always afraid to get up in front of people. And I remember that I started to dance to Michael Jackson's Moonwalker in front of all the grown-ups and everything. And everybody starts making fun of me. And they're like, oh, Garrain, you can't sing, you can't dance. And then my dad, amidst the drugs and the alcohol, he said, hey, don't you ever tell my son he can't do something. Garrain, you don't never listen to nobody. If you always do what you love. He was like, if you love it, you do it. If it makes you happy, then you do it. And that's how you'll be happy. Yeah. So if there's anything that I would ever say to my dad, is you were right. Because now I do everything that I love. Yeah. And I am happy, and that's my own freedom, is when I was able to follow what my dad gave me.
Yeah. And why do you think we go out in this world and do things that we don't love? For example, no one ever dreams of becoming a drug dealer, right?
Absolutely.
Or no one ever dreams of becoming homeless or going to a prison in France, just like you did. No one ever dreams of those things. Right. Why do you think we put ourselves on a trajectory towards that path?
You know what? A lot of times you can't change what you're not aware of. Yeah. So a lot of times people they're trying to change from the surface. It's like trying to cut a weed from the top. It'll grow right back. You've got to pull it from the root. And so if you're not aware of where the point of impact happened and you're trying to change, you don't even realize it's like a little 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old that's causing this, that's angry and all these different things. So if you're not aware, it's going to find a way to keep bringing you down and doing the same thing that it does. So it doesn't matter where you move to, if you break up with your spouse and go somewhere else, if you change your job, wherever you go, you still have to take yourself with you. So if you don't deal with yourself, and if you don't even locate where the point of impact is, it's going to keep growing on you and following you. So I think the most important thing is actually being aware of where the point of impact started, and then from the point of impact, creating a new agreement that 5-year-old is saying, you know what? I'm choosing to be free, and I'm going to let go. I'm going to forgive. I'm going to let go of resentment of whatever that is, and then create a new possibility from there. You can live into the possibility rather than have the recreation pattern of the past be your future, because therefore you'll never be in the future. You'll just be reliving the past over and over and over.
And I mean, we all do that in different layers, right? And to really deal with your own shit is not easy.
No.
It's so fucking hard. And I mean, I'm curious, like, how old when you became a dad?
21 years old.
21. And how did that affect you? What happened after that with the relationship and with your daughter?
So when I was 21, I was just, I was such a sheltered kid, meaning I never felt loved. I didn't love myself. I never heard you're special, you're important, you matter. I didn't even know how to raise myself.
Yeah.
So I went from a slow place, which is Missouri City, Texas, to a much faster place, which is Los Angeles. And I was trying to make it based off of everything that I knew. And I didn't even know how to make it where I lived in Texas.
Yeah.
So imagine you take that mindset and then come to Los Angeles where it's much more fast paced. It's not going to work that way. And I wasn't willing to listen to anybody else. So for me, having a child, you can't give what you don't have. I never want to make an excuse about it or anything, but again, you can't change what you're not aware of. I didn't know that I didn't love myself or that I didn't like myself. So trying to give 100% to the 2% that you give to yourself will actually have you never be at 100% in anything that you do. So I was just lost. And it wasn't that I wasn't capable. I just lacked direction. I didn't know that there were mentors out there. I thought that all of this transformation work that we do, I thought this was all fake. Yeah. Till I started picking up books and things like that. But I didn't do that till 10 years later, till I was 32 years old. And so just imagine someone just being lost, trying to figure out any direction to go in. There's no possible way unless you know where you're aiming at. I had no goals, no vision. I was just living.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to change, right?
For me, there's sometimes some people, they'll get it. Yeah. Me, I don't know what it was, whether it was sports, whether it was juvenile or jail. It's one of those when it hits me, and a lot of times it's a physical thing, I just get woken up from that pressure or that pain, and then I always rise to the next occasion. Yeah. When I was little, I didn't know that. Now I seek it. I put myself in 60-mile runs and do half Ironmans and do crazy things. People are like, why? I was like, because I'm challenging my higher self. It's like, I don't want to be here, so I'm going to put myself in something that will challenge me to go to the next level. Yeah. Before, it was like the universe says, hey, it's time to grow, and it will stuff me down, rock bottom, boom, and then I rise to the next level. Now I'm aware. So now I seek it instead of life just happening to me. Now it's happening for me. And I use that as my it's like a stretching mechanism, kind of like lifting weights to strengthen my mind and strengthen my resilience so that I can even sustain at the next level.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I used to fear the difficult stuff a lot of times, but now I feed from that because I know I'm gonna grow and I know I have to take big risks in order to be focused. Because as I told you before, I was a world medalist in karate, and I was, when I was the best when I fought the best. I didn't always win, but something happened with me when I knew that this guy in front of me were going to do everything to win over me, and something sparked in me that I gotta survive that survival mechanism.
Absolutely.
And it's so hard because we all do shit, and hopefully we grow from it. But can we just talk about like how do you end up in a prison in France?
Well, you take a kid who the only people who wanted to hang out with him when he was little are the people who get in trouble all the time. So naturally, just by culture, I do what I see everyone else doing. But it's like a form of language. If I wanted to speak, Sweden?
Swedish, yeah.
If I wanted to speak Swedish, who do you think would learn faster? The guy who's, the person who goes to Starbucks and picks up Rosetta Stone once a week, or the person who goes to the country, eats the food, and immerses himself in the culture? Who's going to learn faster?
Easy, right? You go there
all day.
Yeah.
So the culture I grew up in was gang violence. I was never in a gang, but I hung out with them. Yeah. you know, so like the gang violence and all this kind of stuff. And these were the people who gave me recognition, and I would break into a car or break into a house. They're like, man, good job. All I ever wanted to hear was good job, I'm proud of you. But I never heard that anywhere else. So that's like energy and sunlight to a flower. And what direction does the flower grow? When there's sunlight, in the direction of the energy. So I just followed that pattern. Just like language, if you keep on doing the ABCs, all of a sudden that'll turn into words, sentences, paragraphs. You can dance because of your count. Yeah. So a kid learning the ABCs of getting in trouble, and you keep doing it. So my life was the culmination and a compound effect of the seed that was planted in my childhood domestication. So in my head, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm only doing what I know. Yeah. So me hungry for money, people gave me recognition. You do this, we'll give you money. I drive a car over a border 7 times that has drugs in it. I don't know what kind of drugs, but I just know it has drugs. 8th time I get caught and I'm like, oh my God, reality sets in. Boom, rock bottom again.
How does that feel? Can we just talk about that? When they catch you in that moment, how can you explain that feeling? Like,
the best way to describe it so that the most people could understand. Do you know that feeling when you come to high school and you just came, I don't know how the school system is in Sweden, but I just got out of junior high where 8th grade is the highest grade. Yeah. And then you go to 9th grade and that's the bottom grade. And then you see all these kids that are in 12th grade, 18 years old, 17. Your first day of school where your knees are a little wobbly and you feel really small. Yeah. When that happened to me, I felt really small because I knew I was about to go into a level that I had never experienced. I felt weak. My words, I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I had no confidence because I knew nothing about where I was thinking in my head where I was about to go. And I was deathly afraid.
Yeah. And how, like, so you probably had a lot of time to think in there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you think about and during that time?
So while I was in prison, and it's interesting because the only people who would truly understand this are people who are master meditators, monks, and people who just truly understand breath and calmness. Only I was doing this because I had no choice. Yeah. So I was in prison. There were no distractions. I wasn't distracted by women, cars, bills, or anything. All I had was time. And what I said to myself is, what can I do in here that I wouldn't normally do out there? So I start reading. I read over 275 books in those 2.5 years, but I read a lot of books several times. Yeah. Read the Bible cover to cover 8 times, the Quran cover to cover 8 times. Taught myself fluent French because I was around nothing but French-speaking people. Yeah. Stopped using my dominant hand, my right hand, used my non-dominant hand, which operated a different part of my brain. I didn't know that I was going to be creative again because I'm just adapting to whatever environment I am. And I remembered while I was in there, oh yeah, I love to draw. I love to sing. So I started doing those things. And then I started running. I've been running since I was 7.5 months. And within a month, there was almost the entire prison running with me. And when I started running, less fights, less stabbings, less drug deals. The warden brought me in and said, since you've been running, this is what's happened. Yeah. And that was before I understood value. So I utilized, once I realized that outside freedom does not create real freedom. It's here. Because I watched a movie called Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And he said, Tim Robbins goes, they can take anything away from me, but they can't take away my mind. And I made that mean, well, as long as I'm doing everything I love, I'm free. So I was outside saying, I feel I'm so lost. I feel like I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be, to the point where I'm lost, so far away from where I'm supposed to be. And then in prison, I realized I was a free man because I was doing everything that I love. In that moment, I wasn't in prison. I was free. And then when I became the essence of absolute freedom, out of nowhere, because I got sentenced for 12 years, out of nowhere, Jones, you're free to go home. The drugs are fake.
Oh, wow.
All of a sudden, they tested the drugs 3 times, 6.2 kilos of heroin. All of a sudden, when I believe I'm a free man, drugs are fake, you're free to go home. I didn't know what that was then. I'm very aware of what it is now.
That's crazy. So what happens when you get out? Like, where do you go from there?
So while I was in there, I had a plan. I said, if I ever get out, I'm gonna make get a recording contract. I'm gonna record these songs, because while I was in there, I got so creative. When the mind is still, the universe will reveal all its greatest secrets to you. That's waiting for you to actually listen. Not listen to the distractions, to listen to that inner voice. So I wrote all these songs while I was in there. I memorized all my dreams. By the way, half of my dreams are already played out in my life 15 years later. And so soon as I got out, I got on MySpace, and somebody told me that's like this social media thing. I got on MySpace. I messaged 900 people, because that's before you can get in trouble for spamming.
Yeah.
I had no songs. I had no actual recorded songs, no money. I messaged 900 people. I said, I just want to get one person, because my brother gave me an ultimatum. He says, if music is what you want to do, I will give you a place to stay. I'll give you food. I'll drive you everywhere. Don't come home unless you have a song per night. 30 days, I had 28 songs. 2 weeks later, I had a $500,000 record deal. Not because I got lucky. Who will message 900 people? I got one producer to just say yes. From that one song, I put it up on MySpace. And then all of a sudden, those same producers were like, oh, I like that song. I want you in the studio. Boom. Record the songs that I made while I was in prison. I recorded all those songs. And I had 28 songs. And then I went to a comedy room where Ludacris just happened to be there. My brother had introduced me to Ludacris. I gave him my CD. He spoke to the CEO at Def Jam. Boom. Record deal.
Wow. And what happens after that?
I have this thing that if I don't feel, so I'm like high and steady. I record this song with like Ludacris and Chingy, and I'm just like, man, just thrust out in the spotlight. We're on like MTV, BET, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to become a big star. All of a sudden, I feel my music shifting, which it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. I allowed my own unique sense to change so that I could fit in with people who were giving me congratulations. You notice a trend?
Yeah.
Where whoever was giving me the energy, I would mold into those people. So if I'm around nothing but rappers, I started being this happy-go-lucky singer that was shifting his whole image into who I was hanging out with the most. And when I caught it, I was like, this is not what I want. So I walked away, and everybody called me crazy. I walked away from a recording contract with Ludacris and said, I don't want it. So therefore, it wasn't even about the money. It's about my spirit. And now I know I made the right decision. It sounded crazy in the beginning.
I know. And I mean, I think molding to the people you hang around with, it's so common, right?
Yes.
It's nothing wrong to work in teams and work together. I love that. But there's also room for being yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And there's so many out there listening to this now that are like, I'm always trying to make other people happy, pleasing them instead of showing the world who I truly am.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to those people?
Well, I feel like if you don't show the world who you truly are, you're doing yourself and the world a disservice, because the greatest gift that you can give to the world is you and your authentic nature. They only made one of you. So if you're trying to be like someone else, and it's a difference if you're mirroring success, but if you're like, I want to be this person, you will forget about you in the process. So the best way I love to talk in analogies. If you take a cup and then you fill it up to the very top and put one more drop, what will happen to the water?
Spill over.
It'll start to spill over.
Yeah.
Every day you do something for yourself, you pour. It's like pouring water into a cup. Every time you're trying to be anything but yourself and you don't think about yourself, whatever you poured in, you pour right back out. So most people spend their whole lives pouring in, pouring out, pouring in. Why? I have no energy. There's only a certain amount of energy that you have per day, but you give your power to everyone else and everything else, and you're not pulling from where the source is. Yeah. You are the foundation to your life. Try to build a house with no foundation and see how long that lasts you. It won't last. So what I say is, pour into yourself. And keep pouring and keep pouring and keep pouring. Find out the things that you love and keep pouring. And then allow people to experience from the overflow that you first give to yourself. You'll have so much energy. You'll have so much vitality. And you can just keep going and going and going, because you're pouring from into an overflowing cup. It's all energy.
It is. I truly believe that if we can have energy in our life, we can do almost anything, right?
Yeah.
But how do we get energy? We have to find that space where we find our energy. For me, it's like waking up early, working out, meditating, and doing those things that give me energy and feed my soul, feed my heart, and feed my belly with the right stuff too, right?
Absolutely.
But I want to kind of talk to you about, like, how did you end up being homeless after that? Like, what happened? And because I know you were a womanizer, you were all over, and you weren't happy with yourself. How did you, like, what happened? How did you end up there?
So I wasn't making a lot of money in the industry. So I was just like, the $500,000 record deal, I was supposed to get that money once my album released. I left before my album came out. So all I had is this underground stuff that I would put out myself. So I never made any money. And so just going to the studio, never having any money coming in, I'm just like, a couple of people, they did some shady things and took points and credit for songs that are number one hit songs where I would have made millions. I'm not going to put their names out there like that, but they're big name artists that took credit for something that I did, and they never, and I never had the right team, so it was like easy to do something to somebody who doesn't have a powerful team. And I was like, you know what? I know God put me on this earth and blessed me with a lot of other things. Y'all can have that. I actually want to do something else and give something else a shot. And so that's when I started getting into the, health and wellness field. And I ended up being healthy, but simultaneously, I still wasn't making no money.
Yeah.
And the only thing I had that nobody could take away was my car. It was already paid off from the deal that I did have and the upfront money they gave me. I bought the car outright, cash, boom. The one thing that nobody could take away from me was my car.
Yeah.
So I could go to the studio, couldn't afford my apartment, had to let that go, boom.
Yeah.
And I would just stay late in the studio, get to my car. I had a 24-hour fitness membership. So I would go there sometimes to the studio, shower, go right back to the studio. So I was in and out the studio, going from couch to couch to couch, to girl's house to couch to, I'm just tired. I just want to be by myself.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, closing myself out from the world into my little space.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm in my car and I look up and it's 2.5 years. Numb with emotions because I didn't count the time. But like your life goes and you can be like, oh man, it seems like I just graduated high school, but it's been 20 years. When you're not aware, time will just go by like that.
Yeah, it happens to so many people. They wake up in a life they don't want to live.
Absolutely.
And it's so sad when we are like, in a sense, we're so lucky that we are in this part of the world, right? So
yeah,
we are so lucky, but we still have our mind that we talked about. If we can't control our mind, we can't go out there and do anything. And I remember seeing this video when you were in the parking lot, was in Inglewood, where you used to park your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you were just talking about that, like, I remember this place, and one day I'm going to make something out of myself.
Yeah.
And can we just share that story? Like, how did you make everything shift? Because I know you were at a very low. You even tried to commit suicide, right?
Twice.
Yeah.
And I failed at that, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. So can you just like, how did you change from that? Because you're up until now, since you were 4, your life has been a roller coaster, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it feels like you've been close to success a lot of times, but something happened in your mind that took you away from that.
Yeah.
And can you just share that?
So the roller coaster was due to lack of awareness. Yeah. Again, I've always got to come back to this. You can't see the picture while you're in the frame. And you can't change what you're not even aware of. So whenever like success would happen, I thought it was me. I didn't know that your mind, you could manifest things. I had no idea, nor did I have mentors that can be like, you see what you did there? Read that book. Yeah. So I had no idea why the things were going up and down like that. So when things were going really good, then all of a sudden I would get cocky, my ego would show up, and then as fast as it was going good, as fast it went away, but I didn't know my ego and my pride and how I was treating people was causing me to block my blessings. Like I was creating this negative shield around me where money says, I don't want to be your friend. Love, people, women, I don't want to be nowhere near close to you, but I didn't know I was causing that. So it hit the nail. It came to a head August 2011 at 3:43 in the morning. You know, my whole life, I would always say things like, oh, can it get any worse? And it would get worse. Can it get any worse? And it would get worse. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was doing that. Yeah. Our words shape our world. Yeah. I was thinking that the world was causing my words. Oh my God, why is this happening to me? No, it's the other way around. So all my life, I've always focused on what I don't want. I don't want this girl. I don't want to be broke. Well, if you're focusing on what you don't want, you're saying, I want this. So in that moment, that's when I just had this, I call it my spiritual awakening. I just had this moment where I broke down. I was like, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people. And I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something I passionately believe in that I would do for free. Just show me a sign. That was the thing that I said. I didn't know what was going to happen. A week later, I'm at the gas station and a homeless man, quote unquote, comes up to me asking me for money. And I said, you have more money than me. And he said, change your mindset, change your life. That word, that phrase in that moment made my life come to, like, it just like interrupted everything that I ever thought. And I started talking to myself. Change your mindset, change your life, change your mind. So if my mind is set on something, then that's why the result is what it is. So if I do different with the same circumstance, then my life will change. I don't feel like waking up in the morning, change your mindset, change your life, so I'll wake up. I don't want to go to church, change your mindset, change your life, so I'll go. I don't want to work out and eat healthy, change your mindset, change your life, so I would. So my life now is the compound effect of 8 years removed of somebody who is living out his childhood patterns. And everything that I've ever had, that I've ever wanted, my life has surpassed my wildest dreams. I had to create new wild dreams. But it all came from everything that I never thought that I would do. It was on the other side. I call it the door to more. It's on the other side of what you resist. It's on the other side of your fear. It's on the other side of the things that you've never done before. And that was how Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life is birthed. One thing I want to say, I also grew up with people saying, never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade places with. I got that advice from a homeless man. Be careful when you say those things, because that's been the greatest advice that I've ever taken. And I, through me, have been able to impact millions of people.
No, I think that's great. And we all say that a lot of times. Don't take advice for people you wouldn't trade places with. But if we look, I'm a martial artist.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I've learned some of the greatest things from like kids that are beginners, because I look at them, they flow so freely. Mm-hmm. They're in this world and trying things that I have been too afraid to try, or think it's not possible. But it is, right? Yeah. And those kind of things, we just have to know when to listen and when not to listen, right?
Right.
Because he could have said, shoot some heroin and it will feel better, right? But you choose the right thing. And I mean, Darren, this is crazy, man. And I don't even know like what to say, because there's so many people out there that have similar situations. They're imprisoned in their mind. Maybe they haven't been. People can listen here. They can be in a corporate job making 6 figures, but you can still be imprisoned in your mind, and you can still be unhappy.
Oh, I tell people that all the time. I was like, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so glad I never went to prison," but you'll be in a relationship for 7 years with a man or a woman that you know damn well you don't want to be in, and you don't know how to get out. Guess what? That's prison. Yeah. The job that you never left for 15 years, you hate the boss, you hate the people you work around, but you stay because of your social security. Guess what? Yeah. You're in prison. So we're all going through or growing through the same thing. You just got to you get to realize and have the awareness of, if you can't leave, and you don't know how to get to the next level, and you're like stuck, and you don't like where you are, that's called mental prison.
Yeah. And I want to talk about, before we move on to the more positive stuff, like what would you like to say to the bad relationships you've had, to the women you hurt, to the people you've hurt in your life? What do you want to say to them?
The funny thing is, I've apologized to all of them. And thank you. Because if it hadn't have been me, if I hadn't had the opportunity to experience all those things, when I did transform my life, I would have never had the opportunity to have compassion. Yeah. So whenever certain people do certain things, I don't go off right away. Yeah. I'm like, I've been there before. Yeah. And so having compassion and understanding has developed a level of patience inside of me where I've spoken with masters in martial arts. They're like, how did you gain this wisdom without going through this? I was like, well, there's several ways to gain wisdom. It's like there's a certain level of wisdom that you can get through age, through martial arts and things like that. But then there's life experience. And when you actually embody it, I feel like life experience is one of the greatest teachers in a way where, so my resilience, my patience, my ability to silence the crazy brain and truly get to the core would not have been cultivated if it hadn't have been for all of the things that I grew through. So now I know how to lead people through who I used to be and the areas that I came. So thank you so much. Yeah. And, I've already apologized to everyone.
Was that hard for you to
It was hard in the beginning because I didn't know the effect it was having on my life. Yeah. The hot air balloon can't leave the ground until you release the weight. Yeah. So it wasn't until I started letting go of resentment. I made a list of 250 names of people who did things to me and things that I've done to people. And regardless of if they did something to me or not, I apologize to every one of them. Some people are like, well, I did it to you. I was like, no, but I held resentment towards you. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't for them. It was actually for me. Yeah. And if you hold resentment is prison. Yeah. So I freed myself. So once I realized what was happening in my life as I was letting go of the weight of resentment and being able, I forgave the 2 men who murdered my father. No one has an excuse. I let it go because I was the one who was paying the price for not being able to forgive and holding on to all the resentment. So as I created this space, it made room for my blessings. If you have a 2-car garage and there's 2 cars parked in it, you cannot put another car in there. But if you release and let go of what's in that space, you can fill it with something else.
Totally agree. But what we see a lot in this world is that people see it as a weakness to say I'm sorry or to show that I don't know what I don't know. Like if you say, I don't know how to do this or I'm sorry, for a lot of people, they see it as a weakness. What do you want to say to those people?
You know what? We're all being brainwashed. We all have been brainwashed. Yeah. So the thing that you get to ask yourself is, why is there only 2% wealthy in the world? What do they know that most people don't? And the rest will die trying to figure it out. So here's what I have to say. If what's going on in your life does not bring you absolute exhilaration, vitality, love, I'm just talking about like, oh my, I am so happy every single day. Yeah. That there is something that's not in alignment. And how I was trained in my head is men don't cry. Oh, you leave the past in the past. Money don't grow on trees. Money don't make you happy. No, they don't know where to shop. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because money can amplify the happiness that you already have inside. So you can actually create new traditions in your life instead of abiding by the ones that you don't even know why or how you're living them right now. So what I was brought up with is men got to be tough. And let me tell you, the toughest man I've ever seen is a crier, is somebody that's vulnerable. The strength that it takes to be open and honest with who you really are, deep down inside, that is one hell of a strong man. Because the weakest men, they hold it all in and they're afraid to show who they really are. When I let go and shared the world who Garrain really is, I had about 36 pages of email saying, how the hell did you do that? Wow, where did you get the strength to do that? And the same thing that has me speaking in over 60 countries in the last 3.5 years, it's because of my story. The strength that it took to withstand life, be resilient, and the even stronger strength that it took to share it in a place where I can be face to face with anybody, not lose who I am, not lose my confidence. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a killer, drug dealer, martial artist, anybody, because I know me. But if I stuffed it all down, it would be an image that I'm trying to portray. And it's not just with men, it's with women too, with human beings, period. Your greatest strength is in being who you are at the core. Anything on top of that is ego, and ego is filtered through the image that you're trying to portray so that you can fit a mold of how you want people to think you should be. Another form of prison.
I agree with you. And I truly believe that a lot of people has one person that they truly are and one person that they are in the world. And the people that can align those are the happiest you can see. Those are the people that can go out and say, this is who I am. And it's okay. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But how do we, do you have a couple of tools do you want to share that can help people get closer to that?
I could give you the tool. But if you take the tool and you're still the same person and you put it on top, it's like putting icing on a mud pie. The most important thing from the beginning, release. Let it all out. You can't put the puzzle pieces together unless you get them out of the box. Yeah. So it's going to look ugly. It's going to be not perfect or whatever. But when you get it out, now you can see what you're working with. You may not even know the you, the real, the unlived you that you're working with because no one has ever known anything about you. Yeah. Why do we follow Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, any of those? Why? Because we know their come from. We know how they got their powers. We know about their parents. We know how they went through resilience and went through troubling times. You think that you don't have superpowers? Yeah, you may not recognize the superpowers because you've never exposed yourself. And so I say the number one tool is to have a moment, speak with somebody where you just release it and you just let it go. Something that you've been holding down that you never told somebody. You never said this, whether you're white, black, gay, straight, pink, purple. If somebody doesn't know the real you, anything that you put on top of that, you're still going to be in bondment, like you're going to be in bondage. So having a release, that is the first tool. Once you have the release, the second is identify what those things are. What are they? What are you looking at? Write them down. Wow, I forgot about this. I forgot that I love this. Oh my God, have resentment towards my mom. Release all that stuff. And then do something about it, because you have no idea how much that's blocking abundance from coming into your life. Abundance is who you're born as. We just forget. So there are no breakthroughs. You're actually breaking back into who you are already. I'm just here and you're just here. We're just reminding people, oh yeah, remember you, remember me. So the biggest tool is like, people get tools all the time. But one thing I never want to do is create a flawed, is work inside of a flawed system. See, people want to change people. No, you work on the system. The system is flawed. You got a system that's designed for success, and then people are in that, you'll produce more winners. So working on the system, the family system, the business system, with the people inside of that. So see what system you're in. If that's not in alignment, figure out how you can create a successful system. Number 2, release the things that you've been holding on to. It could be the alcohol. It could be the drugs. It could be your deep desire to chase women and it's making you lose focus, or men and it's making you lose focus. Because whatever has power over you becomes your God. It becomes your maker. It becomes your creator. When you let go of that, the strength that it takes to hold on to something that is not supporting your next level, the strength that it takes to hold on is the same strength that's needed for the next level. So you're actually holding on to the next level in resistance while holding on to the thing you don't want to let go of. Start with one thing that you know is not connected to your goals. Let go of that one thing and watch what happens to your life literally in less than a week.
It's amazing. And it reminds me, when you're talking about putting things on top, it reminds me of a fable, actually, with a martial arts expert who was living in the mountains, and everybody was talking about him, that if you want to become a master, you should go and train with him. And one guy, he went for days and days to try to find this master. And one day he come to this beautiful Zen garden, and he finds the master and say, "Hey, I've been walking here for days to find you because I heard you're the best martial artist. Can you teach me?" And then he didn't say anything. He just went over to his little garden and started making tea. He said, "Yeah, I'm here. Can we train now?" And he said, he didn't say anything, just making tea very slowly. And this guy was so impatient because he's been walking for days to apparently see this master. And now it just looks like an old man making tea. All of a sudden the tea is done, and he said, "Please have a seat." And he pulls the tea and pours it into the cup. And he pours and pours and pours. And then the cup's getting full, and he keeps pouring. And it flows on the table until it flows on the legs of the other guy. And he's, "What are you doing? You're gonna burn me." It's like, just like this cup that is overfull, you are overfull. You already know everything. Why are you here? You have to empty your cup in order to learn. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of what you're talking about. We have to release in order to let something in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're running out of time, and I've had an amazing time with you here, Garrain, but I want to talk about your affirmations room, because you're big into affirmations.
Absolutely.
Can you just share like a couple of affirmations with us that you use that could be helpful?
So, first thing when I wake up in the morning, I just like to shock my body, and I'll just say, "I believe, I believe, I believe." And but before I get into that, I want to share with people why affirmations. Because giving people context. You get into your car, you start up the engine, and it goes, and then it's a few minutes before it settles into the drive. Humans are actually designed the same way. So if you just get up and go, you find yourself tired every day during the middle of the day, kind of around at the same time because of your diet and because of all this other stuff, because you're kind of just going with life. Well, I created a system for me to start my Garrain engine in the morning where it gives me so much like rev. And then when it settles into my drive, I have so much energy, so much passion, and all these different things. So, I'll do daily affirmations, which are words that I tell myself. If I don't tell myself, then I'm going to listen to what other people tell me who I am. I'd rather tell myself who I am, but from a more empowering narrative so that myself can hear these great things. People say all the nicest things to other people. They're like, oh my God, I love this kid and this puppy and everything. And then when it comes to themselves, they say all these negative things inside. Yeah. No, flawed system. So the system I'm creating is designed around a more empowering narrative when it comes to me looking at me thinking about me. So the words that I'm saying is, you are powerful. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror. You are amazing. You are successful in every area of your life. You are beautiful inside and out. And I will say these things every single day. But then it doesn't just stop there, because I also have to make love to my body. And how I make love to my body is actually by being healthy. So I have my healthy shake in the morning. I have my vitamins, and I'll do some workout. The workout is not for the results. I work out for the discipline. My discipline can translate into any discipline in the world and increase the serotonin, which is the molecule that actually makes you happy. So I'll do things in the morning that has to do with my mind, my body, just like you, and my soul. So it's the meditation, the listening to audiobooks, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, or whatever you choose, the working out, the healthy meals, the saying things to myself so I can get some love too.
Yeah.
That starts my engine. And my goal is to see how many of those things I can get done within the first hour. But I also include acknowledging 10 people who have done really cool things throughout the week. Speaking to my clients. Just like doing a post on social media. So it's doing something in consistency where I can see 30 successes within 1 hour. Over and over, because your brain doesn't respond to big progress or little progress. It just responds to progress or something done over and over and over. And it will assume the nature of what's done over and over and over, whether it's negative or positive. Yeah. More empowering narrative, boom, all of a sudden, all of these positive, magical things are happening to your life because you're doing it for yourself. You're putting that out there. It's coming right back to you like a boomerang effect.
It does. It's so crazy. And like Bill Gates said, we usually overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in a decade. And I kind of think about that now when I see you, because it's been 8 years since that moment with the homeless guy who said, change your mind, change your life, change your mindset, change your life, right? And look at you, man. It's amazing, and I love your watch. It says now.
Yeah, I don't wear a watch for time. My watch literally says, "What time is it now?"
Now, that is amazing. And just one more question,
okay,
and then I'll let you go back to whatever you gonna do tonight.
Okay,
keep inspiring the world. And this is something that I ask all my guests, and that is, if they can do one thing right after this podcast to get closer to their dream, what would that be?
can I do a 1.5 things?
Yeah, sure.
1.5.
Yeah.
Here's 1.5. First off, know where you're going. If you don't have a direction that you're going in, you get in your car and you put nothing in the GPS system and just start driving, you'll be driving forever. So put something in your mental GPS system and be very specific. So know where you're going. Oh, I don't know. Figure it out. You can't, nothing is going to happen that really fulfills you if you don't know where you're going. So where do you want to go in life? What do you want in life? So decide the direction you want to go in. That's one. Number two, be committed to the process and unattached to the outcome. Because a lot of times the outcome is 10 times better than you could have ever created. I don't know about you out there, but I believe there are special forces. I call it God out there working in accordance to the dream and the thoughts that we give the most power. So when you are clear and you put something specifically in a direction that you want to go in, and you stay committed to the process, go into the direction, watch how things start manifesting in your life. You start right there and keep moving forward. This time next year, you'll be on this podcast sharing your story.
Yeah, and we would love to have you. So, Garrain.
Yeah.
How can we find you? We want to know more about you.
Man, so I'm heavy on the gram. So of course my Instagram, Garrain.Jones, Garrain.Jones. My website, which is currently being revolutionized right now, but it's still up, GarrainJones.com. So those are the two main sources, of course, like LinkedIn and Twitter and things, but the main ones where I'm always super active and I look at every comment for now while I have the time, is the Instagram and my website. Yeah. And don't forget, my book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, is coming out in October.
Yeah, and I truly looking forward to read it and to learn more about you, because reading a book is incredible. Yeah. I'm originally from Macedonia, and a couple of summers ago I was there, and I love bookshops. I went into this bookshop and I see this guy just picking up books and books and books. He's buying 60 books. And Macedonia is a very poor country. So he bought books equivalent to 3 monthly salaries. So I thought he must work at a library or something. So I asked him, why are you buying all these books? He said, I love reading, and what can be better than in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, learn from someone who's putting in their whole life work.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. So we're looking forward to read your book.
Yeah.
And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being on this mission and to helping us change other people's life. We truly appreciate it.
Absolutely, and thank you. You're welcome, and thank you for having me on. Like I said before, it's because of people like you, it gives voices like mine a place to have wings, so that the voiceless know that it's possible.
Yeah. And thank you all for watching and listening to this episode. We truly appreciate it. Most people are home now. It's Friday night. They're with their families. We're here to support you guys in your dream. And we can't do this without you. We are here for you. So please share this with someone that needs to hear this message. Go into Garrain's website or visit ilovesuccess.co, where you have hundreds of interviews with amazing people. So thanks again. Have a lovely day and go get it.